Hello and welcome to episode 98 of Celtic Rumours TV, the Bawz and Bovril podcast with your host Mark and myself Paul. Join us tonight. We have Terence, tier 6 ones from our phone page to the podcast, www.celticrumours.co.uk. You can check all out the links to the podcast in the description below. On tonight's show, we will have a match reaction against St. Mirren, Champions League review so far, with Ange making changes to today's lineup. We're going to discuss what is Ange's actually best 11. And if there's anything you guys want to say in the live chat, please let us know. First, I hand off to Mark for a few shout outs and then he can Terence onto the show.
No bother, Paul. Thanks very much. Sorry we're a wee bit late, guys. We had a wee bit of technical glitch there trying to get up and running. Quick shout outs to guys off the forum there, Tim Alloy, Richie, Glasgow Green. I think that's all I can get reminded now off my head. Bobby, nice to see you in, Bobby, again tonight. Terence, that's there. Terence joined.
Evening, gentlemen.
Evening, Terence.
So Celtic, good.
So have you camped doing any?
No. Not even remotely. No. A little bit. I had to go for a drive and an ice cream. That was about it.
Right. So Celtic travelled to Paisley Park today, losing 2-0 to St. Mirren, and made changes to his starting lineup. Some forced changes through injuries. The starting lineup was Hart, Taylor, Jens, Welch, Radisson, Moy, Maguire, Turnbull, Maeda, Abada, and Kyogo. I expected by this lineup that surely we could get a result against St. Mirren, but it didn't happen. I put up stats from this time last year. We played St. Mirren the exact same date this time last year. Shots on target, we had 16 to their 17. This is last year's stats now. Shots on target, we had 5, they had 4. Again, we had 80% possession, they had 20%. Passes 183 to St. Mirren, 685 to us. 87% accuracy. Today's one, 18 shots on goal, 4 on target to their 4 shots on goal, 2 on target, 80% possession, 172 passes to them again. Us 685, around the same as last season, 89% accuracy. To me, the way it's looking at to me is Ange actually learning? Is he underestimating these teams that sit back? Why isn't he seeing that St. Mirren are a big team? You could see that today. Why wasn't Marcus playing? We're coming into an international week. Why was he resting players? Jota isn't playing in the international break. He's surely going to have a rest next week. I'm really confused, Mark, to why there were so many changes. Fair enough, he had to do it at the back, but Jovanovic is fit. Why was Valls in there?
I'm not putting it down to the changes, Paul. I'm really no. Yeah, just quick wee shout out there to Des and Michael McKinstry there for coming in. Thanks for joining us, lads. We've sat here for weeks, Paul. Gloating, basically bumming up how good our squad is and how so many good players in all these positions, Paul. And we couldn't beat St. Mirren. It's totally unacceptable. We can't sit there and brag about how good we're
I
squad
would
is.
have thought that team, Mark, was capable of beating St. Mirren today. But the problem that gets me is when he makes these changes and he brings in these players, this is their chance to, as you said, Mark, if you get your chance, you said the podcast last week, if you get your chance, take it. I mean,
Aye.
these players today didn't take that chance. We were so slow today. It was like watching Neil Lennon last year, 2 years ago. You know,
It was one of the worst performances. Even at the beginning of the season, last season under Ange, when we were losing games, that was still shocking. The day there, Brian saying, listen to his interview after the game, he held his hands up. Held his hands up for what? I don't put the blame of that at all at that the manager's door. If this is the manager's fault, then we've got to look at his actual recruitment, which we've all been saying, he's done some job with the recruitment. Well, obviously, if he picked a team the day that can't beat St Mirren. That's basically. I mean, that's the nuts and bolts here. If it's Ange, right? If Ange is taking the blame for it, it still doesn't change the fact that Celtic have got a massive, one of the best squads we've had for years, and he couldn't put a team out there. So is it the recruitment, or is it what was it Ange's tactics? I thought his tactics never changed. We never stopped. Where was the high press today? Where was the high intensity in the team?
That's what I'm saying, Mark.
Passing.
That's what I'm saying, Mark. Are these players that came in able to do that? Like we spoke consistently under Neil Lennon with Turnbull about his lack of pressing that he doesn't do, and when 36 games unbeaten, he comes into the team today and it's non-existent.
I think again, one of the big things that it comes down to again, Terence, what do you think? We need some muscle in the team. We were out-muscled again. We were totally out-muscled.
I'm sick today to saying it, and I have to just to go back to the first point, Paul. A couple of weeks ago, he brought in bodies, and they comfortably beat Ross County. The attitude today for me stunk. In the first 5 or 10 minutes, you could see there was passes. They were 3 and 4 yards off the pace, getting to fellas. Just the whole attitude. It was the first time, and I said it to you. We were talking beforehand after the game. I've never seen so many passes backwards today in a long time. It was backwards and sideways. There was no pace. For me, Maeda looked like he had no interest in the game for some strange reason. There was little or no pressing. I mean, Kyogo didn't get a kick at the ball. Kyogo's probably, I'm 5'4". Kyogo's probably about 5'6", and they're langering balls into him like. This is like something they were doing to Livingston 12 months ago. It made no sense. But Paul, all these players that came in today should be comfortably good enough to beat St Mirren.
Exactly.
There's I wouldn't necessarily be putting the blame on Ange. But if you're a player like David Turnbull or Aaron Moy, who I would have been a big advocate of, I would have been pushing him because I thought he had done really well. He was shocking today. Turnbull was shocking today. Anthony Ralston was shocking today. Stephen Welsh had a nightmare today. He did, and we gone back.
I wouldn't get any of them pass marks, Paul.
No,
Taylor.
Apart from Taylor.
Taylor was the only one I thought that played solid. I thought he did well. But have we gone back to the stage, Mark, where basically St Mirren go, right, there's 2 lumps up front. No, we can't deal with them. We take Carter Vickers out of the team and the back line shits itself.
Well, I said to you and Paul, we were chatting today, big Jens, who did that remind you of the day watching Jens? It was like watching Julian again.
It was, yeah.
It was like, Mark, what I noticed about Jens today is giving away silly free kicks, like pushing the man. It was like you said, they're watching Julian giving away these silly free kicks. Just going back to what Terence was saying there about Moy, I thought he was too much. He was the main problem, I think, today, because we lost Cal McGregor in that role, passing the ball fast, right? And that's a big problem for me, is that Ange still doesn't have a proper player if he's pushing Cal McGregor up, right? We don't, but he was too late.
There's a certain player we need, Paul, right? A certain type of player, and I don't know, Paul, right? Because maybe maybe to get that kind of ideal player is maybe out of price range. Maybe you're getting into your 20-odd million type pounds of players. But we need somebody that's got a bit of physical presence, can spray the passes about the way McGregor does, but he's got the physical presence and he can put in a tackle.
But surely, Mark, the Danish lad must be that. If he looks a unit, 6 foot, what is he, 6'2". He's a defensive midfielder. If he's only going to be with Celtic for the 12 months, like it seems to be appearing that they're saying that he's going back to Ruben Kazan's or whatever, then he needs to get up to speed. He needs to get playing. Otherwise, what's the point in bringing the guy over? Like we're crying out for a guy who can put in a boot, put in a tackle, be physical, win headers, win tackles, and like if he's there and he's on the bench today, surely he's got to maybe say, okay, look, half time I need to change it. I need to take off Moy. I need to put McGregor up. I need to do whatever. Like, do you know what I mean? Surely the gun stayed for 45 minutes.
That's what I would have thought. I thought it would have been Abelgar. Abelgar, that's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
I thought that would have been the best kind of substitution for Moy, because Moy just done nothing. He really done nothing. I mean,
but if you're on the bench, you have to be fit to play 45 minutes, Mark. You have to be fit to play 45 minutes.
Well, do you think so?
There's no point being on the bench then. Like, you may as well have put James McCarthy on the bench then.
And he's flung Habsaganovic into games in that as well. And this guy's
that's my problem is there, right? To just going. We were talking about Habsaganovic last week against Donetsk. Like, why did he throw him into kind of Shakhtar's game straight away? If you ask me, because the physicality that St. Mirren had, this was the ideal game for him to be starting. Because he gave us that extra bit of physicality. You saw that when he came on, he was getting stuck in. He wasn't letting them bully him around, which what happened throughout the whole game till actually he came on. Do you get me?
Aye, then you've got Celtic fans moaning, oh, he's a bit of a hothead in that. You're like, Jesus Christ, man, what are you actually looking at here? I mean, there is guys on the forum and that going on about. I mean, he pushed that guy. The guy went out as if he'd been hot with a bucky bottle.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I mean, there was nothing in that. But he's a bit of a hothead. You'll need to watch that. If we bought another king, I'm not even going to listen to this anymore, man. It just does my nothing.
But Mark, if the referee was doing his job properly, your man was taking the ball away. Like the St. Mirren guy was taking the ball away.
Aye.
So if the referee was doing his job right, he should be booking the St. Mirren guy.
But we want is to keep the game going as quick as possible, and he was just stopping the game flowing.
And people were getting tick with it, because if you watched it, even the ball boy wouldn't give him back the ball, and he had to go at the ball boy because he'd thrown it away. So, like, I mean, I don't see any issue with that. I'd rather see a fella with a little bit of bite in him than some of the performances out there today. Because some of them were absolutely they were dire. Now, it changed in the second half when I thought Hatate certainly increased the pace of it and looked a lot better than what was on it in the first half, but it couldn't be any worse. But I mean, our wing play, like, I don't think I've ever seen Anthony Ralston cross the ball as bad in my entire life. Like, and he's normally very good. Like,
the reason our wing play was non-existent today is because I don't think these players actually knew what they were doing in that starting lineup today. I don't think they actually knew the formation, where to go. Turnbull for fucking one stage is supposed to be up front, and he's back in the midfield when he actually shouldn't be there. Do you get me? You know, and I just want to talk about Turnbull for a minute. Terms, like, I really do not see the hype in this guy. I really don't, and I said it for years, Mark, on this podcast, and I said in the forum, and I got slated. Your man brings absolutely nothing to this Celtic team. He might get a goal now and then, he might get a goal outside the box, but 9 times out of 10, Mark, he's hitting the ball and it's hitting the fucking the centre backs.
It reminds me too much of Rogic. I mean, I used to constantly say that Rogic and Turnbull couldn't play in the same midfield because they were too similar, and they are too similar. I mean, on his day, Turnbull, I mean, he's got all the skill in that, Paul. It's just, again, he's needing to maybe toughen up a bit. I think that would maybe be one of the best things for him today, is actually like bulk up a wee bit and try and get some muscle on him.
To be honest, Paul, if it was me, and I agree with what you're saying, I don't think that's Turnbull's position. I said it months ago, maybe even last year to you. If it was me, I'd nearly be going to turn. But listen, you just need to sit here. You just need to sit here and pass the ball, because he doesn't seem to have the pace to get up and down the field. He doesn't see. Literally, when he has the ball, he can be a very good passer of the ball. So I'd be literally going to listen, sit in front of the back four and try and read the play and break up the play and just pass it to whoever. Because other than that, he doesn't offer a huge amount to the game. Like, and he can score a screamer, or like you said, Paul, he's rubbing off. There's a little bit of the Ryan Christie at times where the ball is hitting some light up the main road or something. It's, I mean, he's nowhere near the starting 11 if you're to pick the normal 11. Like, he wouldn't be anywhere near that on the way he's playing.
We shout out there to WPM2269. Thanks for tuning in, mate.
I agree with Terence. I really can't see. I really can't see how he. I just don't see what he brings.
But Paul, let's look at it, man. I mean, it's still St Mirren we're playing today. That's what we've got. See if David Turnbull isn't good enough to be in. Even, I mean, really, let's face it, he did do nothing. He didn't contribute any right.
We've been saying this constantly about him before, though. We've been saying this constantly about Turnbull before, is that when he plays, does he
but that's what we're saying, Paul. It's about players taking their chances.
Yeah,
and to get what I mean, that should have
been. He hasn't.
See players like Turnbull and Moy and that, they should have give Ange a headache for this international break of what he's going to do with the team come once we start back up again. And a lot of the players they really didn't do themselves any favours. I even thought Jota and Kyogo were rank rotten.
Well,
really
it was actually true what. And we've actually pointed this as well, Mark, ourselves, but Terence touching it today about Jota, that he's after getting very, very greedy.
Aye. We spoke about it at the Shakhtar game the other night, Paul.
Yeah,
and is he believing his own hype that it's? Do you get what I mean? Does he think that it's got to be him that does everything and stuff like that? I don't know. Maybe it's time for him just to a wee quiet word, because it's not. I mean, we're not questioning his ability. What I'm questioning now, Paul, and mind when we first signed him, I brought this up. I read a report, and the thing they were saying was it was his decision making, and but it blew me out the water with that last year. Do you get what I mean? What he was doing on that park, it blew that.
You could see that this year, though, Mark.
It's down to that now. It's down to that now. His decision making is just know the best, and he's trying too much showboating and fancy flicks and that when it's just get by the man and get in the box and do something.
Well, Mark, if a fella who I wouldn't be the biggest fan in the world of, if Mikey Johnson had performed like that today, or doing that recently, I would have been one of the fellas hammering him as well as everyone else. Like, we said this before. This nonsense of thinking you can beat 2, 3, 4, 5 men. If you're that good, you wouldn't be at Celtic. You just wouldn't. You just wouldn't be at Celtic. I'm sorry. Like, there's a time and a place to beat a man, and there's a time and a place to whip the balls in. And especially when Jota came on in the latter stages, Ange changed to 3-5-2. Like, they went 3 at the back. Like, do you know, they went Ralston, Welsh, and Jens at the back. So they changed it. So I mean, and when you bring it on Giacomakis, you need to start whipping balls into the box. Instead, we were, I don't know, some of the decision making is terrible.
See, that's my biggest thing with the starting lineup today, Terence. Like, and I'm a big fan of Kyogo, and I know what Kyogo brings to the team. But when the team's going to sit back against, like St Mirren did today, and there's going to be a lot of Scottish teams do that. Celtic cannot play the way they're playing against that is by whipping balls into the box, like you said. Kyogo's in there, and he's not going to win the ball against a 6-foot freaking centre back. So, like, Mark, you said it, Mark. I said it. Terence said, like, there's certain games where he has to start Giacomakis, and that's my thing. Like, there's.
But it's not even certain games he's got to pick Giacomakis, Paul. It's if he's going to play a certain way, he's got to pick Giacomakis.
Exactly. If he's going to be whipping the balls into the box, Mark, he's got to play.
It's got to be Giacomakis. But see if it's going to be like the kind of high press we passing about the 18-yard box and that, then you're going to go with Kyogo. But if it's going to be crosses into the box, that's the kind of main plan of attack. It's got to be Giacomakis for me all day long.
Because we're going to see for me, what we're going to see this a lot is we're going to see teams sit back like St. Mirren and go with their set pieces. And for me, fair enough.
Paul, that's what teams have done in Scotland against Celtic for years.
Yeah,
and
but why isn't Joe Hart?
But we broke them down, Paul, for 38 games we've went on beating.
Oh, I know that exactly.
So you can't. Yeah, let's keep things a bit in perspective. It's a disaster as a result.
You have to criticise the goals, and you have to criticise the goalkeeper.
Oh,
Joe Hart.
I expect. See the second goal, Paul. Right.
Second goal, yeah.
It's right. The ball comes in. Jens is the first guy that goes for it. I'm not sure whether he gets fouled, but the ball goes up in the air, and then Hart's standing there watching it, and then the next time there's a foul on Welsh, and he's pushed, and that's him. That's hit. Whether it's a foul on Jens or that, I'm not too sure. But Paul, see if that was a striker getting doing like that, it's a foul. Do you get what I mean?
Exactly.
It is a foul, Paul. Whether he went doing easy, it was a blatant push on him. There was it wasn't just a wee tussle or anything like that. The guy just with his 2 hands pushed him in the back. But when the ball was in there coming down, that's when Hart should have been out to get that. And we've spoke about that. One of the things with Hart, he doesn't come out and command his area as well as some other keepers. That is one of kind of. I'd like him to start doing that a lot more, because there's a lot of half chances teams get ways that he could stop.
My problem is we've seen Joe Hart do that, and when Joe Hart does do that, he does command the area and he does get the ball. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's an experienced keeper, and you have to criticise him for his decision making with that goal. Do you get me?
We're not running it up. That's what people. I mean, they're Peter saying there's no point trying to dissect it. There's nothing else to talk about if we weren't dissecting it. But no, again, there's guys. As I said earlier, that Stephen Welsh isn't good enough. There's somebody on the forum today. Apparently, the only decent defender we've got is CCV. Everybody else is rubbish, right? So that's down to Ange, obviously, but he didn't want to admit that. It's just the garbage that they come out with. It. We can't pick a player and just put a bad result down on them. That full team today was a bit of a disgrace, to be honest. The actual,
I think,
the work rate they put in it, the effort they put into it. I just think it was a total shambles of performance. But it's not the end of the world. We dropped 3 points.
The problem that happened today was, fair enough, we had the 2 injuries, which was a big blow to me, because that partnership between the 2 lads last season was just outstanding. Starfelt and Vickers, it really shows what the 2 lads bonded together.
How good the kind, even the importance, Paul, your centre back pairings building up that kind of rapport and partnership.
But you remember, Paul, fellas were absolutely hammering starters this time last year.
And they still are. They still are.
They were hammering him, but like as well too today, Paul. It's the attitude of the Celtic team today was appalling.
But that's what is bugging me, Terence. That's what really pissed me off today, is because
it did, yeah.
I expected them to take their chance. You know what I mean? Because any time, and I noticed this a lot with Ange's system and things, if he does take out, we say, what we think is the top lineup is, Mark. Like Yota, Abada, Kyogo, McGregor, Hayata, O'Reilly. When he does take them out of the team never plays to the full tempo. It's not the same.
But at the same time, Paul, like those players that came in today, like should be capable of. They're in training every day. They're know the way it's meant to play it. It's touch, move, ball forward. The amount of times that I saw the ball going forward, stopping, pass back, or a little triangle around 3 or 4 at the back. It was like you were genuinely watching a Neil Lennon side of a couple of years ago. There was no pace, and they just allowed St. Mirren to sit back. And I know what you were saying a while ago about Kyogo, but if you have a Kyogo in the team, or someone like that in the centre forward, you need to play the ball at pace. It needs to be bang, opening up gaps. This idea of this tap back, touch sideways. St. Mirren were just going, we'll sit here all day. And we'll happily let you do that all day. If you like, anytime Celtic have played away from home, like the Ross County one, Paul. Ross County was a tricky place as well. But Celtic played with pace, passes were whipped, players were moving all over the place. Ross County couldn't live with it.
Mhm.
And that's the problem today. It was.
That's their tense. Even though Ange's come out and says he picked the wrong team, but
I don't think he did, Mark. It's the attitude of the players.
I think Ange's just trying to. I'll take the blame for that one today, but I think he'll be raging at the players because even though he's saying he picked the wrong team, there's no way you. But you're saying in it, no way you tell them to don't press them. Do you get what I mean? Because that's always your game. Don't press them. Don't harass them. Don't chase the keeper down and things like that. There's no way that Ange said that to them.
No, and as I said, Mark, that's down to players on the pitch and their attitude. And maybe there was a level of arrogance in the players. Maybe there was a level of arrogance to go, it's only St. Mirren, we're after playing Shakhtar Donetsk there the other day, and I'm because I'm only obviously to guess, but the way some of the players went around the pitch, you'd think like I would expect them to work harder in training. Like, I mean, like you're saying, the change in the players, but how many of that Celtic team would get on the St. Mirren side? Probably all of them. How many of St. Mirren team would get on the Celtic team? None of them, even that side. So there should have been no argument Celtic should have been able to win that game with that team that started today. And Ange assumed that, and he assumed that he didn't need to bring on the big guns. Unfortunately, he had to bring them on, and we still didn't manage to get a result. But, like, to me, some of the players there have nearly kind of, if you were in Ange's head, you're kind of going, okay, maybe I can't rely on this fella as much as I thought I could. You know, maybe fellas have put themselves back, if they thought he was a second spot kind of backup. Maybe Ange's in his head going, okay, maybe he's not my second choice. Maybe I need to look at another guy, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mark, do you want to come in there on that?
Oh, I'm fine with that. I totally agree with what Terence has been saying. It's just, I don't blame Ange for it. I'm blaming the players for it 100%. You can blame Ange because he picked the team, but it's the players that have let us down. But that's just, I don't see how anybody can really say anything different about that. Just every single player out there today was ranked rotten. People say it's a bad day at the office, and if you get Celtic's a good enough team, one or two players can have a bad day at the office, but when there's many of them in the day, I know when it's like the day, it's just never going to. We could have played out there. We could still be playing there tonight and still not have scored.
And I think as well, Mark,
I can't remember us testing the goalkeeper.
Yeah, there was 4 shots in goal, Paul. But how many of them actually? Can you remember that their keeper had to make no save? St. Mirren had 2 shots in goal and they scored both of them. This is like what I was saying. This is like what I was saying to you there last week when you were looking at the stats. I know Bawz put up a great stat on the forum about the Champions League that Celtic have only converted 10%. They've hit the target 12 times or something, and they've only scored 1 goal. Shakhtar Donetsk have something like hit 5 shots in goal or 6 shots in goal and scored 5 of them. This is exactly the problem that Celtic have. They have loads of shots in goal. Very few of them are hitting the target. And when you get a day like this where nothing is converted, all of a sudden it's okay. It's the result is there for everyone to see and plain to see. And it's the mannerism of the result, Paul, for me. If Celtic lost today and they played well, and St. Mirren happened to have one of the games of their lives, you'd go, look, Celtic played well. St. Mirren actually, in fairness, put it up to them. But they were
normally, Terence, we talk about the opposition goalkeeper having a great game, keeping us.
That's what I was going to say. How many times have we sat here and spoke about an opposition keeper having one of the best games of his life against us? And
and
that we can't even use that as an excuse today and say the usual kind of goalkeeper performance because we never tested the guy.
He didn't make. I can't remember having to make one genuine save, like a dive. Or the 4 on target were like probably Giacomakis' header that bounces and he catches it, or your man Jens' one where it's floating in the air and he catches it. Like, this is what you're counting as on target. Like, it was utter dog shit. Like,
just on target just means the ball was going towards the goal. It was actually threatened the goalkeeper at all. Evening, Sean. Thanks for coming in, mate.
It's just so poor and so annoying, and that there's an international break, and you kind of sign off with that shite.
Shite.
I think it's actually, maybe the international break has actually come at a good time for Celtic. I think because I think Ange needs to regroup the attackers, because just go back to what Terence was saying, Mark, and we were saying about the European football is we haven't been clinical in front of goal.
No.
The last 3 games, and I put Real Madrid into that game as well, because we should have been at least 2-0 up against Real Madrid. Mark the chances we have, and like something seems to be happening with our forward line at the moment. Like we're getting into positions, we're creating these chances, but we're missing sitters. These are chances, Mark, where I remember when Edouard was in the last year of his contract, and it was like he gave up, that he was missing these chances. Do you get me? That's the kind of chances we seem to be missing. You know?
Some of them are sitters. I mean, keep going on about the Maida one against Real Madrid and that, but I mean, that's for me. That's one of the worst misses I've ever seen in my life, Paul. And that, I mean, what are you? He's not even in the 6-yard line. He's inside the 6-yard box.
Inside the jar.
It's like nipping your mouth with a fork, Mark.
It's like, do you know what?
I've done that to be fair a few times, Terence.
Do you know what it looks like?
You with a skinful at the time.
I can do that sober. You should.
You know what it looks like to me, Mark, is that what is it? The insight is that, or the insight is like that Gianmarcus before Mark, like last season, would know where the ball went and he was in there. Do you get me?
Aye.
Like we seem to be missing that. Is a killer instinct or something like that in front of the goal, that we're not getting first to the ball. Do you get me? We're letting defenders.
But Paul, if we made chances today and the ball had fell to Gianmarcus, I've no doubt that he'd have scored them.
Yeah,
we never created any clear cut.
No.
But Terence is saying, we've had 4 shots in target, but they were heading towards the goal. Doesn't mean there was any great venom or danger in them to St Mirren goal. And we never done anything. We didn't really threaten our goal at all day. And so that's, for me, that's down to the chances we're making. If you're not putting the ball into if you're not putting good balls into your strikers, Paul, he's not going to score. Whether it's crosses, whether it's crossing the ball into Kyogo, or hoping that Gianmarcus can do the wee ping pong passing about the pitch the way Kyogo does. But if you're not doing what suits them, it's not going to work.
Definitely. What would Ange's best starting 11 be? For me, I think it would be Hart, Ivanovic, Vickers, Starfelt, Taylor, McGregor, Hayase, O'Reilly, Abada, Kyogo, and Jota.
Well, I'd go with that, Paul. Apart from, as I've said, I'd just swap Kyogo and Gianmarcus. I'd swap. But apart from that, I totally agree with that. It's the best 11. I don't think there anybody really would disagree with that. No. Is there anybody in the chat or that? Terence, you just in the same boat too, aye?
Yeah, I literally, the only one, as you said, Mark, would be the same as yourself. The Gianmarcus or Kyogo one is, you could kind of rotate depending on what you're looking at and what you're playing. Do you know what I mean? But there's the rest of it, to be fair, the rest of it names itself. On general play and general form, that's your starting 11.
Aye.
Otherwise, what I'd like to see is Habanovic start and actually see him in this, because I think.
But you can't. But Paul, you can't turn around the now and say that he should be in Ange's 11.
Going forward, because but that's what I'm saying, Mark. We haven't seen him.
I've not seen him, but we're talking about who the players we know. I mean, he could come in and be a revelation in there.
That's what I'm saying. I'd like to see him, because, Mark, I think he's the player at the the only player at the moment that I know in the squad that gives a bit of physicality. You know, because
you said you wanted Gucci in that position for months. A year you went on about Gucci and that, so you just
Gucci's a tackler. Gucci's a tackler. I can guarantee you, Mark, if Gucci was in there today, there'd be no balls passed back like Moyes was doing today. There'd be no balls passed from side. He would have been up the top of that pitch attacking that ball. And that's the problem with Moyes. He's 34 years of age. He can't do that job. Do you get me?
You shouldn't be expected to do that.
But I think it was the pace. It's the pace, Paul, today. The pace from everyone today was awful. It was pedestrian. It was like you watch every Celtic game so far this season, and within the first 10 minutes in a lot of games they've scored a goal. Why? Because they come out of the traps absolutely flying. And today you could just see it was so slow and so pedestrian, and no one seemed to be moving, and there was passes backwards and sideways, and you're kind of going to yourself like, come on, lads, come on, pick up the pace a little bit here. And there was times, as I said, like, I hardly saw my 8 in the game. I like Mark had said earlier on, I didn't see any of the high pressing. I didn't see any of the balls down the channel, whipped in balls. From the word go, I know what you're saying about Moy, but I just think even if Iraguchi was in there today, Paul, I don't think it would make a massive difference, because I just thought the other players around were so poor. Everyone was just so poor in the team.
Just a wee shout there. Evening, Eddie. Thanks for joining us in, mate. What about the strip situation? Do you think that played any part in it?
Get rid of it.
I think there was a bit. I honestly do think there was a bit of a clash here. I can't remember who was it. Jota that
Man United.
passed? No, I know that. The old Gray. Did Fergie no swap that at half time away to Southampton or something like that?
He did, yeah.
I thought if you described the strips, you wouldn't think there would be a clash. Let's be honest. But when you see it on the screen today, but there was a particular. Was it Jota that tried a pass, and he passed it foot on the left hand side right into the middle of a St Mirren player, and I thought, did he think that was one of his own players? That was the case. I'm sure it was Jota that done it.
When something so fast, Mark, and for me, I thought, I was actually very surprised as well that the referee let those 2 kids go today. I was very, very surprised. You know,
it was just see, watching it in the telly, it was bad enough trying to kind of differentiate it, and that's it. It must have been a bit. I'm not using that as any kind of excuse or that for the performance, you know what I mean? But it has got to be something that maybe the team, Ange, that's got to kind of look at.
I'm looking at it
there,
and I'm looking at. I was just thinking of something that she said there. You were talking about Gucci, and for me, there's 2 players I don't think Ange can actually take out of his starting lineup at the moment. Is the way they play, the way they pass the ball, and they always track back as well. Is Hayase and O'Reilly. I really think those 2 lads, what they bring to the team, and I think they actually showed it today when Turnbull. Oh fuck me, man! I just can't stand him. Like, you know, when he fits into that team, I lose no sleep if we saw it in the morning. I would.
Tell us how you feel, Paul. Tell us how you feel.
Who are you talking about?
Turnbull.
I thought you were still on about Gucci there. I nearly fell off the seat.
Do you know what, Mark? I feel sorry for that player because he has no luck since he came.
He's a Turnbull.
Turnbull's a load of shit. Anytime he's got a game, Mark, he's useless. Useless.
In how many games has Gucci had? So he's even more useless.
Not at all. Wait till Gucci's fit.
Yeah, we know you think. What do you mean? You think he's fit? Is that what you said there?
Wait till he's fit.
Oh, wait till he's fit. I think he's fit.
Yeah. Who's he going to replace, Paul? Who's he going to? He's not going to replace McGregor. He's not going to replace Hatate, and he's not going to replace O'Reilly. So where's he going to play like?
He's not going to replace anybody while we're in the Champions League because you
need
to keep the players.
He's going to be if Ange wanted to make those changes today, the ideal player for me at the moment in that squad is to slot in there and keep the high tempo up. Is Gucci.
I know, but Paul, that's if my aunt had ball, she'd be my uncle. Do you know what I mean? But she's not like. You know, like Hatate, but Gucci. But Gucci is miles down the line, Paul. He's miles down the pecking order. Like he has Moy there, and he has. I can't even pronounce the new lad, the Danish lad, and then there's McCarthy, and then there's Gucci. There's about 6 of them.
You've got
McCarthy's.
How McCarthy's getting on the bench?
Yeah, the only time he's left.
Where's Gucci? Yeah. Gucci didn't even get in the Champions League squad.
Because he had to be taken out, Mark, because of the Scottish the European wins.
Paul, if he was that good, there'd be somebody else popped out the squad.
But Paul, the Danish lad is in the squad.
That's like talking if he'd signed Ronaldo or something like that. Wait, we've got that Scottish rule for the Champions League. We better not register Ronaldo.
But isn't the Danish lad in the Champions League squad? The new lad they signed.
I don't know.
I think he's in the Champions League squad. Is he not, Mark?
I don't know. I'll check out the new terms.
Well, I'm just saying if he is and Gucci isn't, Paul, you know, he's obviously Danish international.
Why is the Danish lad not starting so instead of mine?
Well,
Well,
I don't know.
That's a good point. That is a good point, Paul.
It's a very good point, Paul. I don't know. I don't know, Paul. But
Aye, he is in it, Tier. Aye.
he's in it.
He's in it.
But I listen. I agree with you, Paul. I agree with you. Why is it? Well, maybe he thought that the last game or two that Moy played, he was okay, he was decent enough. Now he did an absolute mare today, no question about it. He had a nightmare. But I go back to the point: if they take out Moy, the Danish fella's probably next in line to come in that area. So like Gucci is well down the line. Gucci has to be well down the line in that order, Paul, because he's not anywhere to be seen. Like he may as well be working in a local Chinese in Glasgow because he's nowhere to be seen. Like no offense, like
he's injured. Gucci's injured.
Well, sure, he's always injured.
Aye,
and that's the problem.
He's
just being unlucky. The reason he's probably getting injured is because he's not probably getting a run of games.
Well, you can say the same about Turnbull.
Turnbull's shit.
Turnbull said his injury. Turnbull said his injury problems. I know. What did Gucci do
today? Anytime Turnbull plays, he's fucking
Gucci probably didn't even watch the game on the telly.
I bet you fucking wind up Paul today, is it?
I bet you Gucci doesn't even know what the score was today.
Is this have a fucking go, Paul, today in the podcast? Because I leave. I pack up the podcast right now. Not in the fucking mood.
Oh, Paul, what I'm only saying to you, Paul, I said this before to you. If you look at the positions of the holding midfielders, right? It's McGregor's number one. You'd agree with that. Then it's whoever is after that. It's McGregor, and then you're looking at the likes of, in no particular order, I say Gucci, Moy, the Danish lad, McCarthy. So there's 4 or 5 fellas there, all for the one position. And McGregor, Hattadi, O'Reilly, we'll all agree are going to start every game if they're all fit. Generally speaking, if it's a big game in particular, they probably should have all started today because there's an international break, like you've already said, Paul. But I can't see McCarthy getting much of a game. I can't see Gucci getting much of a game because the other two lads, obviously, for whatever reason, Postecoglou sees them as the next two guys in that position where they could come into the holding midfielder role. It mightn't be what we agree with, but it's obviously what he sees. So for his unless there's going to be the CIS Cup or something like that, and he's going to give Gucci a run in it, or he's going to give McCarthy a run in it, or he's going to give the Danish lad a run in it. I don't know, but the likelihood is only going to be one of those 3 or 4 is going to start the game, like when McGregor's not playing, like.
Yeah, grand. Anything else?
Are you out with me?
What's
that? Talking to me anymore. Are you not talking to me anymore? So no.
No, I'm all right. I'm just moving on. You're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion. I could see. I know what Gucci would bring to that team, but we all have different opinions.
Nobody's saying he wouldn't bring it, Paul. But do you honestly think that he's going to get the chance to bring it? That's what we're actually saying. We're not saying he's a bad player. We're just saying that in the pecking order, Paul, every other midfielder that's coming in is pushing Gucci further down the pecking order.
That's the problem I have, Mark, is that why did Ange fucking sign him?
But I thought somebody said in the live chat there about was it maybe some kind of deal?
No,
I've watched the videos, Paul. Me and you, right? We're winding you up a bit there, bud. Right? Don't take it too hard or that, right? But I agree with you that he could be a good player for us, but injuries, he didn't get nearer. And as I said, every time we sign a midfielder, Gucci's getting further down the pecking order. I'll be somebody said it as well there, William. Cheers for coming in, William, mate. Gucci will end up back in Japan in January. I could see something like that happening. Honestly, that's what I think will happen. We're not saying he's a bad player.
If you look at that performance today, and if we see Moy in that position again, and McGregor put up, you have to question why did we sign this lad Oliveira? So,
100%.
Exactly, aye. Because Moy's not said he's got that for the day. But I said earlier, that's the kind of game Moy should have been out there and showing his even he don't his experience in that. Do you know that's the kind of game Moy should have been out there running the show, and that's probably what
he should have been dictating that from the start to finish.
Aye,
Moy too slow.
He's not getting any pacer. Paul, again, you need to say
the reason why we were so slow today, Mark, is because of that passing by Moy, that he wasn't moving the ball fast enough to the attackers.
That's a big thing, but just what I was going to say there, it's like we say with McGregor. McGregor needs maybe a bit of muscle in there beside him. Maybe Moy needs a bit of legs in there beside him. It's a hard position for one guy to play, Paul. You know what I mean? We were that used to watching all 4-2-3-1s with Rodgers and Ronnie and stuff like that, where you've got the two sitting midfielders. So the two of them, it was like one of each. Went to McGregor and Brown kind of complemented each other. Do you know what I mean? But if you've only got one in there, it's hard to find a player that can do the full job the way we think that Ange wants him to do it. I think that's the thing about it.
The only other thing, Paul, as well, is if there's a 2-week international, is it a 2-week international break or 10-day international break, whatever it is? I don't know the position of how fit Gucci is or if he's still on the treatment table or whatever the story is. But after today's game and how badly Moy played, if he's up to fitness and he's up to speed, there's nothing to say that Postecoglou won't look at the Danish fella or won't look at Gucci if he's fit, like. But the problem is if he's continually injured, he's always going to struggle.
I understand that, but if my thing is with Gucci is that you saw in pre-season what Gucci did. He attacked from the front. Do you get me?
Oh, there's no doubt. His qualities, Paul.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying is that when we take McGregor out of that role, there's no one else there to fill that role, to do that job at the moment. There's no. We saw clearly today, Moy isn't there to do that.
So the next time, that's the next time the Ange wants to have a wee kind of mess about with, then I go with the Danish guy, the young Danish boy.
I don't think he will, Mark. I really don't think he will. I think now. At the moment, what we saw, and that McGregor at the moment is the best player, and I can't see him taking Cal McGregor out of that role again. I really can't.
Paul, I kind of agree with you. I think that is what he's going to do. I mean, really, but I've said a million times my thoughts in that. We'll get away with that in Scotland, but in Champions League level, we're going to get exposed with there.
But the last game proved that.
Exactly. No, I mean, even the Real Madrid game a bit as well, McGregor get kind of, didn't he? He played well, but you can just tell that at that level, that's not his game. Do you know what I mean?
You need to be a specialist. You need to be a specialist player in that position. You just need to be a specialist player. You get, as I said, Mark, you get away with the lower level, but not at the top level. You won't.
And see, to get somebody kind of at that to be able to do that for his terms, is it maybe too far a reach money-wise for us? Because let's face it, for the position we're talking about and what we want this player to do, you're talking about one of like a top, well-rounded up. Do you get what I mean? An all-round player. Is that beyond Celtic's means nowadays?
But at the same time, the top level might be, Mark, but the level below that shouldn't be. So we don't know how the Danish lad could perform because we obviously haven't seen him.
What about Riley in there?
We haven't seen. In fairness, we haven't seen Gucci play any real football at all since he's come to Celtic due to injuries. So there's a potential that maybe one of those two could do that. But you're going to lose. Mike, we keep going back. You're going to lose one of the three. Then you're going to lose McGregor, Hatate, O'Reilly. So obviously you're not going to lose McGregor.
I can't see at the moment, Terence. I can't see us looking at the two lads being taken out of that team today, Hayase and O'Reilly. We lost a bit of edge in our attack. O'Reilly there is like a new Roderick. He could pick a pass out of nowhere. Do you get me? He sees the pass.
You could even put, for me, if you were to look at those three guys, you would say who's the best tackler to trade him would be Hatate, to me. You could nearly say, and he's a brilliant passer of the ball. You could nearly say, you know what? I'll switch this slightly. Hatate, you sit a little bit and let McGregor and O'Reilly go forward. And just don't commit yourself.
Or even O'Reilly there. O'Reilly's a big lad.
That's what I've just said. Fancy O'Reilly playing that kind of pivot linchpin role.
Yeah,
I didn't realise the other week he was actually 6'2".
He's a big unit.
I know for a fact that 6'2" guys are big units. Know what I mean?
Well, let's not get carried away here now. This fella's well built as well, like.
But I maybe even tried like a Riley in there because he's got a bit of physical presence about him. We know he can pass the ball about. So I would even maybe try that, and that would allow McGregor to play further forward with Hatate.
I don't know, as
I
I
would get Turnbull out the team and shut Paul up. We crab at
I'm
arse here, we crab at man there, Pablo.
I'm serious about him though. Like every time he comes in, like I'm constantly talking about the guy. What does he bring?
Well, he was brutal today. No, look, as I said, I thought
He was.
Turnbull. As I said, I thought Turnbull. I thought, as much as I don't like saying it, I thought Rogic or Turnbull, and I thought Ralston, I thought Welch, and I thought Jens, and you know, they in particular stood out to me today like a sore thumb. I thought they were terrible.
And just to go back in his goal, and I watched it, and people saying was it a foul, and I actually don't think it was. I think it's the way he jumped, because he seemed to bend his back when he was jumping. It was like he was jumping back into the player as well. You know, and
is this the second goal or the first goal, Paul?
The second goal. I really don't think it was a foul on him. Like, you know, I just thought that
was on Welch, though. That was Welch, though, wasn't it? That was Welch that missed that header with you, man. It was a 50-50.
When he missed it, though, when as well, didn't he? To try.
Well, in fairness, for the first one, Paul, if you look at it, like, Moy just lets your man run from midfield, and he doesn't follow him. And then when he realises he's gone, it's too late. Like, so Jens is kind of has his man, and your man comes in the far post, and no one tracks him. So
that was Moy's player, like, yeah.
It was, yeah. Moy realises he's gone 10 yards past him before he realises it. Like,
should have Bawz be tracking back as well, though? Not really, though, should he? No, because it should be Moy.
Well, it's Moy's man, but yeah, but look, Moy let him run off him, and he just didn't follow him. You know, it's a bread and butter thing you'd expect fellas, certainly at that level, that they burst the gut, because once the ball comes in, Jens is obviously occupied with their centre forward, pulling and dragging and the usual stuff. But the guy comes in, heads it at the back post, and there's no one near him. Second goal again, you know, Welch is out muscled. I question whether it's a push or not, but he still probably should be stronger. You know, he's probably stood, and Joe Hart should definitely come for it. So
to me, I'm going to blame Joe Hart for that goal, because I think Joe Hart should be coming out claiming his box. It was inside.
But Joe Hart doesn't do that, though, Paul. We had this discussion before. Joe Hart never comes off the line.
Yeah.
It should be, but that's the really. Joe Hart's got to take part of the responsibility for some of the goals as well. That, even last season, I looked at, to get what I mean. It's just, but he's not going to start doing it now. To get what I mean?
No, he's not.
He's not. It's not.
But the crazy thing about it, Mark, is if Joe Hart comes out and goes to punch the second goal, for argument's sake, and the forward makes any contact with him whatsoever, 99 times out of 100, it's a free out.
The chances, if the keeper comes for the ball,
the protection for the goalkeeper now is unbelievable. Like,
yeah, he's going to get a free if he comes for that ball, and the defender has an arm, or the forward has an arm up or something up, and Joe Hart comes in and any kind of contact and starts flailing the arms in the air. He's 9 times out of 10 you'll get a free out for the keeper. Like, so it makes no sense to send the line.
I mean, you see it all the time, Terence. Even if one of the attackers doesn't touch the keeper, all the keeper needs to do is give a scream and fall down.
Exactly.
And the referee's getting it. Do you get what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Hands waving in the air,
tugging and pulling and pushing in the box, that the ref just usually gives the advantage to the keeper in these situations.
All the time. As I said, Mark, he comes out and he goes up in the air and the hands flapping and one to another.
Joe Hart should know that. He's been round the block enough times to be cute enough to know that. Do you know what I mean, Terence?
But he's huge as well. Joe Hart is, what is he? 6? What is he? Is he 6'5", 6'6"?
Mm-hmm. Big lad.
He looks like so when he jumps, like, you have to remember he's jumping, and also his arms.
His arms
are up. So how high is he? Look, you know what height is in the air then at that stage? So, like, it's crazy that a guy that tall and that experienced is, for whatever reason, is planted on the line. It just, and there's a lot of that last season. There was goals last season as well, where Celtic conceded, and these fellas are heading the ball inside the 6-yard box, and you're saying that has to be the keepers. Like, that has to be the keepers.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot here. Maybe it's something down to his age or that. Terence, that he thinks if I do get a right good clatter here, it could end my career.
Yeah, could be.
I mean,
could be, Mark.
I mean, no slagging Joe Hart off. He's done plenty more good for us than he's done bad. But we're just talking about how, like, one of the. I mean, it's weird to talk about a guy with what he's done in the game and his weaknesses. But we spoke about his kicking ability. We were worried about that, and he seems to have adapted to that. Mm-hmm. Not great, but he's adapted to it better than I expected for him.
But you have to praise and take the criticism at the same time. You can't just all praise
aye.
If someone's making a mistake, we're only looking at it as Celtic supporters and saying, well, we think he could have done this or they could have done that. At the same time, we'll be the very first to come along and go, that was unbelievable, that was brilliant. You know,
interesting point here by Peter on.
Try to be constructive with the criticism, isn't it?
Exactly, 100%.
Interesting here by Peter. Welch not good enough, and Radisson appears to have reverted back to the player he was 2 years ago. What do you think of that, lads?
It's hard to judge. It's hard to judge in one game, Paul. It's hard to judge. You can't judge. You can't judge in one game. Like, look, the whole. If the two boys had a mirror and the rest of the team were excellent, you'd say, yeah, there's a bit of an issue.
I think
but the whole team, as I said a while ago,
it just ran through the whole team today, Terence. That performance.
As I said there a while ago, Paul, the whole team were shite. Apart from Greg Taylor, the rest of them, apart from the few subs that came on, Taddy I thought was decent and one or two others, but other than that, they were absolute dog shite for the most of the game.
What about Turnbull for goalie? Turnbull can go and piss off and he's fucking Aboriginal. He's Aboriginal fucking haircut. He looks like an Aboriginal haircut that you see from fucking.
It's the Peaky Blinders haircut. It's better than your man bun. Wait till I say here. Just while Brian's here, Brian, I've done. See what I emailed you about? I've done it, mate. You maybe see wee changes and I've got the wee logo thing up on the top screen and that. And that's what I spent most of the day trying to mess about and find out the improvements and stuff like that. So, we'll get pictures of Paul with his man bun up and that for a laugh.
You know, Mark Paul's having a bad night when he's having a pop off a fella's hairdo, isn't it?
Do you know, there's one player that I think is actually seems to be off the last couple of weeks, I think, anyway. Is something seems to be up with Mida. Doesn't seem to be doing what we know he can do. Speed, I don't think he uses enough. His speed. He's crossed at the moment seems to be non-existent. Like something seems to be wrong there at the moment, Terence.
It could be a player that's just lost confidence, Paul, because he would have never been the most prolific goal scorer since he come to Celtic.
Oh yeah, we know that. Yeah.
I mean, his work rate was always very, very high. His pressing was always very, very high. I would have always questioned some of his ability to supply crosses, and like some of his misses of late, like the one I didn't get to see the match, but I saw a lot of the highlights of the shot to the net even near the end of it. So again, okay, some might say it was a bit of a stretch, but it was a poor miss. The one against Real Madrid was just awful. It was just really, really awful. So, you know, I mean, Ange obviously has a lot of faith in him, and he's playing him, but he must be getting close to borrowed time where they got to go Jota and Abada. He must be getting close to borrowed time because he's not. You can only keep playing a player so many times, and if they're not producing the goods, whether that's supplying or scoring in his position, then you got to question it because you're cutting down your options on one wing, and you know he's just maybe a break might be what he needs, Paul. Maybe out of it for a game or two or something like that. Just bring him on as more of an impact sub. I don't know, something, but he certainly doesn't look like he's had as much confidence in himself at the minute.
I don't know. I'm just thinking now to the time when he played in Portugal and he couldn't settle in Europe. I actually don't know. Could that be happening, Mark? That he could be actually unsettled in Scotland with his family? Would that affect his performance? I wouldn't like to think it like, but
no,
I don't know. It just shows his aura, something like that seems to be down at the moment or something.
He's definitely not playing. I mean, again, I'm not actually too sure, Paul, what he brings to the team, but I like what he brings to the team. If you know what I mean, he's never a striker. But the pressing and the urgency and stuff like that.
He hasn't been even doing that of late, Mark. Do you get me?
No, I'd like to think about Paul that there's a bit of difference between his last time when he was in Portugal? Portugal. I mean, now he's got other Japanese players beside him. He's got the families to mix with, and they've got that wee translator guy that helps that wee group of them out and stuff like that. So I wouldn't like to think that he'd feel as isolated as he maybe did when he went to Portugal. Plus, as well, he's a wee bit more older and maturer, so you'd think he'd have thought of that himself.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just he's just getting through a wee lull. I mean, again, it's just because he's not setting the head on fire. Everybody's he's no good enough and stuff like that.
Oh, he's still, Mark.
No, you can't.
Love him.
But can he just write players? I mean, I'm not saying you're doing it, Paul. I'm talking about the fans in general. You can't just write players off because of a disaster today.
No, I'm just concerned about him, Mark, because
after the performances we've put in against your Real Madrid's beating them the other week and stuff like that, so it's just a blimp for me.
That seems to be
blip.
Yeah,
whatever it is.
That seems to be the problem with today's performance. Like playing Rangers off the park a couple of weeks back, great performance against Real Madrid. It was actually a good performance against Shakhtar the next as well. Bar we just weren't critical in front of goal, and then this performance then today is just. Like,
night and day.
It just goes, where did it come from? Like, where did this performance come from? And it's like Terence was saying there, these fellas have been training with lads. They know the system inside out. And for them to come in with such a slow, like, we still had the same amount of passes, 681, but those passes were back and sidewards. They weren't run passes. They weren't effective
changing the game or anything like that.
Like previous games.
That's why I'm laying it solely at the foot of the players, Paul.
100%.
The manager can do what he wants and blah blah blah. But we've seen the players cross that line. It's up to them then to give 100%. I mean, as I said earlier, Paul, Ange went out and said to them, right, don't press too hard today. Sit back off them, pass it about. Just pass it about. Back there,
but even like
he's not telling the players to do that. That's the player, but that's the players on the park that are doing that.
Yeah, but that's true what you're saying there. Like it's down to the players. But
night, Brian. Thanks again, bud. Good night, mate. God bless.
The players should have known today that we're getting no effect in putting crosses into the board. But then they didn't even try to play around them. Do you get me? They didn't. They didn't try it. Like, and that's.
And I'll say something else that I noticed today as well, and I've noticed it a few times when things aren't actually going the right way. Ange just stands there at the side of the park with his hands in his pockets. See if Neil Lennon done that, the internet would have been aghast tonight.
Well, I was actually that. Mark, one thing I would say about Ange today, and he needs to actually think about this is when they're playing teams that sit behind the back. He reverted to 3 at the back today. So why can't he do that in games that are going to sit back, play 3 at the back and open up more on midfield?
But I was surprised he actually done that, Paul. But maybe again, it's something that he's looking at. I mean, people say, I've said this a million times, people seem to think that Ange is like a rigid, it's not a rigid formation of that Ange plays. Get what I mean? It's just the actual system he plays. How many defenders you've got in the park or many midfielders or that doesn't really matter. It's actual way they play the game. So it should. I mean, we've all been scared. Go with 2 up top and all that, but just if the players today that went out and done the job that was expected of them, there's no reason why Celtic shouldn't have won that. If the players
but look, up. If we're looking right on all the data now, right? If Gavin Strachan's there with all his data, right, he's going to be analysing this game today. And when we're playing them return leg, like I would suggest, like they only had 4 shots in goal and only 2 of them a target. Should we go 3 at the back this time against them and open up? Like that's a good coaching.
But would they've got the goals, Paul, if Carter Vickers had been playing?
I don't know. I don't think so, Mark. I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't expect Vickers to be pushed over so lightly by Welsh today.
No.
Well,
even the first the header went out of the Welsh situation, Paul, with Jens. Carter Vickers wasn't getting beaten there for that either.
But even Paul, though, what you're saying there about the 3 at the back and all that, it's all fair point. But the problem with today, for me, starts and finishes with the players' attitude.
Well,
starts and finishes with the attitude.
Yep.
Because it's like what Marcus said, and the players know what they're meant to do. If a player goes out there and he's given a half-arsed effort of a pass, or he's given it not chasing back like Moy didn't chase back, or Moy at times didn't chase back, and it's just lazy passing and lazy running and everything just lazy. That's down to the players and the pitches. We've said here numerous times, and you can see that in Postecoglou, because literally at half time he just went, right, you and you're off like, you're off like. There was, and he made the changes at halftime to try and get a bit more zip into it. And obviously, Tate brought a little bit more into it, and they tried to get into it. But it's players' attitudes on the pitch, Paul, today was a massive problem. It stunk.
It's hard done as well. It turns to see what you're right at half time. He whipped them off and made changes.
But it's very hard to change the game. That's pace the mark. When it's that stagnant,
especially when we're 1-0 down and they're just going to camp out in the box. Yeah. You get what I mean? If it went into nothing each,
it's different.
If it went into nothing each and made day changes, St Mirren wouldn't have closed up shop as much, but they've just have been playing the normal way they were playing.
That's the problem, Mark. That's why we need to start the way we start the previous games against these teams, is to get that early goal and get them jogged up. Do you get me?
I thought it was awful kind of even the start. You expect the Celtic teams were getting used to watching them flying out the traps.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Lackadaisical for the first whistle of the day.
If you look at the goals,
they're a big word for a Sunday night. Lackadaisical. I can't even say it again now. Lackadaisical. Is that right?
It's bang on. Spell it now. But if you look at it, Mark, as we said a while ago, look at the games they've played against Real Madrid. Out like a bullet. Against Rangers, out like a bullet. Even against Ross County, straight from the word go. The pace, the intensity, the passing, the movement, everything is on kilter. It's full speed. You just saw it today and you just thought, at times you would be going, if someone didn't know this was a league match, you might say it was a pre-season friendly. It was just so slow. So it was literally like, okay, you hold the ball. You hold the ball. You hold it. Like as Paul there said a while ago at the start of the show, he said 80% possession. But I'd love to see how much of that 80% possession was actually in their final third. I'd say it was very, very little. Mm-hmm. Very, very little. And their keeper, as you said, having nothing to save, it says it all. And that's 100% down to the players. The players' attitude today for me was just awful.
We tried to sign that keeper, didn't we? That's him. It was at Motherwell a couple of years ago, isn't it? Carson,
yeah.
Aye. Maybe we tried. Who was it? Was that when we signed Scott Bain? Was that maybe the same time? It was either Carson or Bain at the time.
I think it was, Mark. I was either Carson or Bain.
That Declan Gallagher that plays for him. I mind a lot of people wanted Celtic to sign him. I think it was Motherwell he was at the time. Him that does a big massive throw-ins and that, but
yeah.
It was just, I said it at the start, and I'm just telling everything you're saying with me. Honestly, I'm spot on agreeing with you. For me, that's solely down to the players.
Yeah, it's just terrible attitude, terrible attitude out of the players today. And I'm sure behind the scenes, Postecoglou, and he's good at it. He doesn't show it outside. I imagine there'd be some fairly severe words said to them in the dressing room there after that. Because you're going into an international break, everyone's assuming it's going to be a 5-point lead. There was talks there, if Rangers drop points against Dundee, Celtic could be 8 points or 10, but whatever it is ahead, they could be well ahead. And you're going in now. No one expected this result. And Celtic are going now 2 points ahead. You're talking about the Ross County game there, Terence. For me, on paper, the Ross County game's a harder game for us in the day. Yeah, and if you look at the way they played, Mark, and they played with a lot of changes, but the pace in it was tenfold to what it was today. It was day and night. And again, I keep repeating myself and apologies, it's attitude. The players' attitude today was awful. Just awful.
Right. See, when you were watching it, you didn't even see any. You weren't even seeing passion for players. You weren't seeing them shouting at each other when they were making silly, basic mistakes. Even when Jota wasted a lot of balls a day and that. You never seen anybody really berating him for it, did you?
No.
The only fella that came up with that had a bit of bite was Haksabanovic. He was the only fella that came on that looked like he gave shit. Like he was kind of putting himself about, and he got a yellow card, which was a joke of a yellow card. But he looked like he actually was giving a shit, like, you know what I mean? Just, I don't know,
I quite liked him, the way he was kind of carrying himself, Terence, showing a bit of passion at least.
Oh yeah, because I was glad that this podcast wasn't at like 5 o'clock today, because
that's what I'm saying, like that.
I'd have needed to get a wee beeper machine thing.
Big time beeper.
He needs to put in a bit of physicality into these teams. You know what I mean? If St Mirren are going to sit back like that, and we know they're a tough team, Haksabanovic, J. Marcus or maybe this lad Oliver who's 6 foot something as well. Like these players need to be playing in those games to bring physicality into the team. You know.
I definitely think that's one of the things that was missing again today. It was like playing the game, Paul, for the last couple of we've been on about how we get out muscled in the midfield. We get out muscled out of the park today.
Do you know what I noticed, Mark?
We weren't even out muscled in our own defence.
But you know what I noticed, Mark, about Ange's teams, and I noticed a lot of things is we don't like teams in our faces.
No.
We don't like it. We don't like teams up front in our faces. We don't like to be tackled or something like that. We seem to go off our game, don't we? You know?
But that's why, Paul, we play with a high tempo. That's why we play with a high tempo, because we don't allow teams to get on us.
We don't allow that. But
when we do this slow... Yeah, when you do this slow, like if you look at Moy and Turnbull in the midfield today, like it was like an old age pensioners game. It was chronic slow, like, and you're allowing then St. Mirren to get in your face. Say, McGregor, they're allowing fellas in McGregor's face, in Jota's face when he comes on, in Abada's face, in Moya's face. They're not getting ball in space. They're not. It wasn't the way Celtic have been played. It was just, you know. And you're right, Paul. And when Celtic allow teams to do that and get on them and press them, they don't like it, because the problem is some of the players there don't have the ability to manage that circumstances. They just don't. They're not good enough that if a player's literally sitting on top of them, they don't have the skill set for the touch or the ability to move themselves out of that area and get a pass away. Some of them do, but a lot of them don't.
Our next game, I think, is the 1st of October against Motherwell. I don't think Ange will pick this lineup again. I think Terence, I say, would he?
No, you've got to go with the lineup. Assuming everyone's fit, Paul, you have to go with the lineup that we all agreed with there. Whether it's Kyogo up front or Giacomakis is the only decision. The others, assuming and hopefully that they are all fit, they're the ones that start. Because
what is the update, Mark? Do we actually know on Vickers and Starfelt? Do we know anything about that? I know Vickers is after pulling out of the USA team, I think, today. I think he pulled out of it.
Did they pull out of the squad? I didn't know that, Paul.
I think he pulled out.
I messaged you, didn't I? I didn't even put it on the Discord or nothing, Paul, that I'd heard a whisper that it was when they've been playing against Shakhtar. And then when he get named, I thought nothing of it. So I thought it was not, but has he maybe played that game that's aggravated an injury
Could
he's
have.
had? Looks what it's starting to look what it's looking like to me anyway. I don't. Starfelt again. He'll not be getting away for his international team because he's obviously injured as well. We just need to try and get these players back before the 1st of October or whenever it is. I hate international games, man.
Yeah, it could have been the case as well, Mark, that they'd run Vickers in for the next game, and maybe he has kind of irritated a little bit, and they've obviously gone in and assumed, look, we'll rest him against St. Mirren. We surely have enough attack to beat St. Mirren.
Aye. That was just going to follow that on. Maybe that has been what it is. Again, and give him
the full time to break, to rest,
I mean, how much did we pay for that, Jens? I mean, the business, he's not just a cheap guy that came in, do you know what I mean? Welsh. People are slagging him off. As I've said, see if Italian teams and Spanish teams and English teams are want to sign him, the guy must have something about him, right? So we're looking at Welsh as like a potential future kind of long-term Celtic player. This guy, James, we've brought in to be a potential long-term future Celtic player that we're going to make millions off for in the next 2 or 3 years or whatever. And they couldn't, but none of them could put in a performance to beat St. Mirren today.
So I think what we noticed today is it has to be Vickers or maybe Starfelt and. Do you get me?
But it shouldn't need to be, Paul.
I know
that's what I'm saying. Jens and Welsh should have been.
Yeah.
I'm not just signaling they two, but that full team today should be good enough. Excuse me, should be good enough to beat St. Mirren.
Because I wasn't really worried about that starting lineup today. I honestly thought we would have beaten that St. Mirren. We should have beaten St. Mirren, but so he said, lads, the players just didn't turn up. Just review on our Champions League game. Our next game is going to be on the 12th of October, I think, against RB Leipzig. Your thoughts on the group, Terence, if you haven't been on us for a while?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, it was unfortunate that they didn't manage to win there in the last game against Donetsk. Obviously, saw a lot of the highlights, was kind of half listening to it, and they had plenty of chances again, but just not clinical enough in front of goal. But look, judging on what you see so far, Paul, second is a very real possibility. Second is a very, very real possibility. It's like Leipzig don't look any great shapes. Donetsk, look, that Celtic can certainly at least match them. No question about that. So it's like, I mean, we said here a few times, it's from game 2 to 5 is where Celtic's destiny is going to be laid. They've got Leipzig now, isn't it? I think home and away and home, and then home, and then home to Donetsk. So they've got 2 home. They've got Leipzig away and then home to Shakhtar and Leipzig. If they get results in those 3 games, they should be well in the box, in the driving seat. I think obviously Madrid will have well qualified at that stage. You would imagine. You hope that they can obviously hammer Donetsk home and away. That would make Celtic's obviously possibility a little bit easier. But it's certainly well within Celtic's hands now to get through the group themselves. You know, you'd be disgusted if they didn't at least finish third.
Definitely, Mark. Won't you be with Terence? Even second, Mark, we should be looking at Celtic now, looking the way we are in the group and what we've seen of the group.
If Real Madrid just keep winning their games, Paul, if we can get a draw in Germany, beat Leipzig and Shakhtar at home, we even get into play Real Madrid in the last game. It's us in Madrid to get through.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, that's the big ask going to be Leipzig away, obviously, but I don't see why we can't get a point there. I really don't, and I'm the same. The way things are looking, at Donetsk, they were rotten. They were terrible as a team name. They really were. I said at the time, I thought that was 2 points dropped rather than a point gained. Although you're away from home in Europe and all too doing all, it's always good to get a point away in Europe. But it is. But if you actually sit and watch that game, we should have bumped them. We really should have. That should have been Celtic should have been out of there with 3 points, no question, because they were really, really poor. But the last half hour they were dead in their feet. We couldn't even capitalise on that either. So if we don't get third place, I'll be totally devastated about it. I'll be totally gutted. Because as I've said all along, Celtic, that should always be the aim. But getting to being the Champions League, I can't ever see Celtic top my Champions League group. Let's be honest about it, lads. Do you get what I mean? When you see some of the teams in it. So, but a wee bit of the luck of the draw, which we have really had.
It is one of these groups we could actually ask for.
Really, apart from Real Madrid, it's touch and go. Any of the other 3 teams can beat any other 3 teams on their day, kind of thing.
Yeah, and the draw has fallen perfect for Celtic. And the draw has fallen perfectly for Celtic. Get the Madrid game out of the way at home at the start, and Madrid at the end, when the likelihood is they've qualified, so there'll probably be half a team missing for them anyway, rested. And you've got those other games, and you've got 2 home games, game 4 and 5. So it's the draw, the way it's fallen even for Celtic is perfectly placed. If they can get a result in Germany, and then they've got 2 home games, you expect them to go hell for leather. And like Mark said, Donetsk didn't look anything overly, to be afraid of. And Leipzig obviously got a hiding from Donetsk as well. So Celtic have nothing to fear in those 2 sides. And like Mark, you can. This is the first time you could genuinely say, yeah, I really could see Celtic finishing second in that group, and you'd be devastated if it was anything worse than third. Like devastated.
Really, it would be. It would be a bit of kicking stains, really, wouldn't it?
Well, how does it work though, actually, right? So, if we actually finish 4th in the group, do we actually drop down to the Conference League?
I'd say you're out altogether.
No, I think that's you altogether, Paul.
Or you outside, so you have to finish 3rd, and if you get knocked out, then you're up League, you went to the Conference League then, I think, isn't it? Or you out then automatically then, or what?
If you finish 3rd, you get into the Europa League.
Yeah, but what if we get knocked out of the Europa League then?
I think that's it then, Paul.
I think
that's it. I think that's it. Because it's definitely from one of the group stages stuff. I think that's definitely.
They can't give you that many raffle tickets, surely, getting knocked out of the Champions
No, I think
League,
it is. Like, I think if we get knocked out, we go into the playoffs then into the Europa League, isn't it? Is it?
No, I'd say just go into if Celtic finish 3rd, they'll just go into the draw. They'll just be like because the group stages
the knockout stages of Europa League.
Yeah, that's what they'll be into the last 32 or whatever it is. Or they'll be into that stage. There's no there's no playoff games. It's obviously just head to head from there then on. You know what I mean? If they get knocked out of that, then that's it. Like, I don't think they go to the conference.
No, it's just confusing the way they do it. Like with this conference league, like trying to get the grips with. Like, you know, I'll have to read up on that actually and see what way that is. That's it for tonight.
I don't even know why they bother with it, to be honest. Why just not expand other competitions?
Definitely money, man. Sure.
Aye, true.
It's for Jose Mourinho to claim he won another cup at another club. You know, which is like it just is. You know, I'm happy to let it there, lads. If anything I want to add on before we go, Terence, no, anything?
No, all good. I just, not to be overly controversial, I hope the papers, certainly in Scotland tomorrow, are able to name a few other clubs that were doing plenty of other singing and not just name check Celtic. And I just leave it at that.
A lot of rubbish, Terence. It really is, man. You're lucky being over there. Honestly,
I'm glad. Man.
And as I've said in that, I've said it in the forum. I've argued about it with people. Now, see, for me, this is nothing to do with Celtic, Rangers, Catholic, Protestant. It's to do with billionaires while people are dying, can't afford to heat their houses and feed their kids and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's nothing to do with religion or even fit. I mean, come on, it's nothing to do with fit, but people can't afford to heat their houses. And we're spending billions on this kind of fucking nonsense. That's me. I've swore on it. That'll do me for the night as well.
What it is, like it's taking homeless people off the streets for the funeral tomorrow. Like, I mean, if you're able to house them, then why aren't you able to house them?
Aye.
Automatically close all the food banks.
Food banks are shutting tomorrow. Do you get what I mean? People that's where the most desperate of your society go to feed them and their kids, and they're shut tomorrow. To bury a billionaire that never bothered her backside about anybody.
Yeah, it is. It's actually horrible. Like you said, there are times like there's more than one team done, but it was a good one today by Celtic, though I must say that. Though, you know, it played it well. In fairness, it was well played. That they clapped their hands, and the whole place was clapping hands.
You could even see the St Mirren players kind of looking about themselves. They knew what was going on. Do you know what I mean? You've done that. We're clapping what they're telling us today, kind of thing.
It was a good one, all right. I must say that I enjoyed that, all right. That's it for tonight, lads. Thanks to Terence for joining us, as always. Thanks to you guys in the live chat for joining us. Hope you join us again. We'll talk again over the international week. Hopefully Celtic don't pick up injuries, or maybe we might pick up one and David Tolman might get injured again on international duty.
You can't, no.
Mark will close the podcast.
No chance, man. You can't do that, Paul. Injuries on players, man. No, you can't. That's not right. That's not right. No, I mean, just because we slag Gucci. No, I mean, no, you're wishing injuries on Celtic players.
If he does no harm anyway. Mark will close the show.
Right, no bother, bud. Thanks very much, Paul. You as well, Terence. Thanks for coming on. Everybody that joined us, thanks very much. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back at some point during the international break. We'll maybe even try and get Jonas on for a Scottish podcast, seeing as we've nothing else to keep like Celtic related to talk about. But thanks very much. Remember, hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, please do help share it about and that. Hail, good night, and God bless.